Hello there, amazing FBAers. Welcome back to the show. Sorry I've been rather absent from your ears and your eyes over the last few weeks. I've been busy putting the finishing touches to the private label process course, which I'm very proud to present to the public now. I mean, it's almost available. It's just having the refinements made to it. It's being stored on a brand new system we're using called Kartra. It's really pretty and really user-friendly. It's brilliant stuff. So that's now available for pre-orders. If you want to check that out, it's £295 until December whatever it is, the end of this week, December the 1st, I think, Saturday to December the 1st, midnight British time. After that, the price goes up to £395 or about $500 US, and we take away the lovely bonuses, which is basically mentoring is the main bonus. For the first 10 people to sign up, we've got 4 people signed already. So you get 1 hour of mentoring with me free. So I might as well just mention that. Sorry to be a bit pitchy. If you don't want that, that's fine. But this has led me to review in rapid order a lot of the overview of the process of private labeling. So today I thought I'd bring you the benefit of that with a couple of podcasts for today and the next one about sourcing. So we're going to put it in context. I read the other day, I heard rather on a podcast with Sean Twing, who is a very, very impressive guy, actually been in internet marketing about 19 years. I'll have to put that in the show notes now, so we'll get that done over the next couple of days. This is, by the way, amazing, fba.com/289 if you want to look at this episode in the show notes. It'll be very sketchy for this one because we're very busy at the moment. But if you want more complete overview of the whole process of private labeling from A to Z, we have a very, very good little video course that we just created. I say little, I mean the first video is only 8 minutes, so it's not too scary, but the other ones are about 30 minutes each roughly. If you want to check that out, go to amazingfba.com/class, CLASS, and you can check that out, free 4-part video series. What we're also going to do is if you click on something that relates to sourcing or something, we're going to try and segment our list more, meaning that we're going to try and bring you information that's more relevant to your needs of where you're at in your Amazon business creation journey. So if you need more information about sourcing and you click on a link or an article about sourcing, over time we should build a profile of what you need and give you more stuff about sourcing. So I hope that makes sense. It'll take time to build, but we're working on making the information more and more relevant to you. That's the free stuff, and never mind the paid stuff, which is even better these days. So let's plunge into the content and look at the whole business of sourcing. We're going to look at it in the overview first, and then we'll look at it in more detail in the next podcast. So the first thing to say is that good sourcing is very, very important. Of course, getting a great product, physical product in the physical product business is vital. Having said that, though, if your business building process as a whole doesn't make sense, then your sourcing isn't going to either. So what I mean by that is if you're going the traditional private label training route of straight out of the gate spending $5,000 or $6,000 on one set of products and then maybe having some left over for some marketing, I think that's a high-risk way of doing things. I don't think it's necessary to do things that way. I would prefer, as we teach in the PLP, the private label process, it's not just a course, it's a philosophy. So it's what I teach in mentoring. It's also what I teach on the podcast. So the private label process, yeah, it's a course, but it's also a process that we teach, full stop, goes through everything we do, like Brighton Rock. And one of the main principles is preview, do, review, or learn, do, review, which has been a mantra, if you like, for the podcast for pretty much 3 years now. And there's a reason for that, because we learn by doing. We all learn by doing, right? So any training is a prelude to action. And once you take the action, then you need a chance to reflect on it and then move forward in a virtuous cycle, right? So in simple terms, the private label process advocates going in 3 phases before you hit private labeling. The first phase is some retail arbitrage or online arbitrage. Not going to cover that here, but it's obviously something you should be doing just to get the Amazon skills down, like shipping into Amazon, dealing with the Seller Central system and getting used to that, etc. Second phase is then the generic launch or a test launch for a few $100s, and then the next level up is the private label launch. So I want to make clear right from the beginning, I can't save you from a bad business building system by one part of it being good, okay? The second point, very, very important point, it's no use, again, if you're sourcing the wrong product, or you don't have a clear target market, is not going to be any use to you either. So the next thing to say is, before you get into sourcing, you absolutely have to understand about differentiating your product. And that's not just about the physical widget, it's about figuring out at a deep level who your person and pain is. A person who's very specific, maybe it's a lady in her 50s with arthritis and the pain is arthritis, and maybe it's wrist pain or something like that. Something very, very specific. The internet's all about niche markets, and you need to drill deep into who that person is. I'm not going to rehash that here. I've dealt with it elsewhere. I will retouch on that because I think you can never get deep enough on understanding a market. So understand that by sourcing, if you're going to get a really interesting product that speaks to a particular person about a particular pain, that's the only valid start as far as I'm concerned. If you stick some generic product out there that is not really thought through, you're not going to do well in a competitive market. Okay, the other things that we need to look for before we go sourcing, what are we shopping for? We're looking for an interesting, a different product, different in a way that the customer cares about. And guess what? You won't get that from Amazon. You'll have to talk to people. You might have to hang around forums, around Google forums or subreddits or Facebook. We've covered that elsewhere. But make the effort to talk to people, find out what they really want, then go and get it. Okay, really critical point. So never ever skip that. Otherwise your sourcing will be in vain. If you source a boring product that's the same as everything else, even if the quality is good, it's going to be shopped on price. That's how Amazon works. Okay, it has done for 4 years since I've been in the game, but even more true now than ever. So be disciplined about that. Second thing is, when you're going sourcing, you want to make sure that you're negotiating the right price. There is a certain kind of price on Amazon that the market will pay, and not more. And if you source too expensively, even if the product's quality is great and it's different, your sales volume will be low because it's overpriced. Okay. And the third thing is, the physical quality of the actual product needs to be good, because you might sell it, well, if it looks different and answers a good need and the price is right, you'll sell it. But then if it doesn't actually physically work very well, or is just crappy quality, you're going to get very rude reviews, and that will kill your product listing. Okay, so to summarize, you need an interesting and different product. That is absolutely critical. And you need to have a good price, and you need to have great quality. So those are the things we're going shopping for. And with those things, you can still beat the competition, because most people don't really think clearly about this stuff and don't tie it back in to a precise target market. So in this lesson, we're going to quickly look at the overview of how to find good suppliers fast, how to get the right deal, and how to get your first product made and on its way to Amazon. Very exciting. The overview of the sourcing process is pretty much the same whether you're doing a generic order, i.e. you're getting off-the-shelf stuff without your logo on it, without your special packaging, or whether you're doing a proper private labeling, so you got your logo on it, your own packaging, etc. Same basic idea, but we'll add in a couple of extra steps if you want to do the private labeling thing. This is just basically the basics. Basically the basics. That was well put. You know what I'm trying to say. So the basic approach is fast fuse. Okay, I have a fast fuse. I'm an impatient guy. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an online entrepreneur, and I live in London. So no wonder. Sorry about that. So fast fuse is my mantra. FAST stands for find all suppliers today. Very simply put, Alibaba.com probably is the easiest and the best way if you're starting out to find suppliers. People go to the Canton Fair. Well, that's kind of like Alibaba in person, as I understand it. I've never made the effort because I've never really been convinced, and most people who've been there say, yeah, it's not a great way to choose products. Yuwu, everyone talks about as if it's the salvation, but that's kind of, as somebody put it who went there recently, a member of my 10K collective said, you know, it's kind of like eBay in person. It's also not that great. So Alibaba.com probably is the place to start, but you can find all possible suppliers in one go. So the issue is not finding people, it's elimination. So the rest of it is fuse, filter unsuitable suppliers and eliminate them. Fast fuse, fast find all suppliers today, fuse, filter unsuitable suppliers and eliminate them. So most of the game is getting rid of possible suppliers. Okay, so that is the name of the game, and the ways you can filter that, you can use the Alibaba filters. We'll talk about that in detail on the next episode. Then you can filter by email responsiveness. If they don't answer your email, it's kind of obvious that you know, it's not really going to be it's not going to even start, is it? And then if they are not responsive to your questions and they don't answer them, that's not a good sign either. And then you can go through a bit of a checklist, like, do you private label stuff if you're at the private labeling stage? You know, what's your minimum order quantity? That's not a great question, by the way, guys. As a first email, never do that. just always ask something positive like what's your maximum production capacity, or something that implies you're thinking big, and various other things that will become quite clear through going back and forth. Now, classic error that people make, number one, or number whatever it is starting to negotiate back and forth and trying to get a good deal without knowing what the product is, because they haven't ever seen it, and without ordering it, because there are two problems here. One is that you don't know whether the product's even worth having at any price, and if it's rubbish, you do not want it on Amazon. Trust me, very fussy buyers, it will be trashed. It could even get your account suspended. So you don't want any bad quality product at all, full stop. And the second thing is, you haven't spent any money. You're just another person out of the void taking their time up. So you can solve that in one go, very simply. Order a sample. As soon as the supplier looks decent, the product photos look decent, the price looks within shouting distance of the right one, don't start negotiating heavily. You can pre-negotiate a bit, get a sample, get it sent to you, and yeah, it's going to cost you money. Spend the money. Spend the damn money. Okay, $80, whatever. If you're not willing to spend $80, you're certainly not going to be willing to spend $8,000 down the line, are you? So don't be cheapskate about it. Just be serious, and your supplier will take you more seriously, which brings us to negotiation, which is the next point. Now, negotiation actually involves a huge amount of calculation. So calculate before you negotiate is my rule for everybody, because actually you need to think through a lot of different things before you come to a final figure. And you're going to find you have a spreadsheet, a projected profit and loss. You keep updating as you add things, particularly if you're private labeling. You're going to have to think about the freight, the packaging, the exact minimum order quantity, and that's going to change all the numbers all the time. And you have to keep working on building up a picture financially of what everything costs before you then go back to the supplier and negotiate a proper price. They say in carpentry, measure twice, cut once, and really in negotiation, I think you measure everything twice. You go through entire supply chain from beginning to end, because every item in that, for example, getting inspection in China, for example, having your packaging made, for example, your own personal logo made, for example, ordering more units, for example, getting it inspected when it lands in the USA. Every single part of the manufacturing and supply chain has an impact on the cost. And you can't really negotiate a deal without knowing what your costs are. So you need to go through the whole thing kind of on paper, and just up for the purpose of updating the spreadsheet. Then you need to go back through it, and as a prelude to going negotiating, and then negotiate, right? So it's an involved process. It's a lot back and forth. It takes time. Expect it to be a sweat first time out. But negotiation is the highest paid hourly rate that I've ever been paid. I mean, if you can save yourself, 10% on a $10,000 order in a couple of good, well-run hours, that's $500 an hour. That's a good pay rate, right? So negotiation is a skill that you'll learn over time, but the main thing is preparation. Can't say that enough. Next step you're going to do is place an order, and there is a variety of not exciting, but paperwork you've got to go through. You've got to really think through quality control, particularly if you are private labeling, so putting a substantial amount of money down. You really have to take the trouble to look into quality control in China. I've been through that, got the t-shirt, so I can talk you through that, no worries. And then, of course, we need to just arrange to get the order received in the US, possibly direct to Amazon. First time around, I would very much advise you to go to a prep center, though, so you get a post-shipment inspection just to check that your packaging for products is adequate. In other words, the cartons you pack them in are enough to protect the inner packaging, i.e. the units, if you like, the sellable things. So the sourcing timescale can vary. It can go as little as 8 weeks, up to 21 weeks, so as little as a couple of months up to 4 or 5 months, or even more if you're getting very complex first time out. My advice is don't. Just keep it as simple as possible first time out. Spend small amounts of money, reduce the complexity as much as you can, get used to the process, have a little training wheels. If you make some money, that's a bonus. You spend a few $100 and you don't make any money, that's just called training, right? If you're not willing to invest a few $100 in a test of yourself and the entire process of ordering, doing your research, getting an order in, doing a tiny test launch on Amazon, if you're not willing to spend that much money, then I don't think you're in the right place. Because if you're willing to spend several thousand, but you're praying that you're right first time out based on no experience, that's not a great mentality for an entrepreneur. I'd much rather see you do a tiny bit of retail up, gain a bit of experience, gain some money, get some cash, get some easy wins financially, no worries at all about doing that just before Christmas. in January, it's going to be harder if that's when you're listening. But then, yeah, move on to the next thing. Just order a few $100 worth of product from China. And, you know, if it goes horribly wrong, you've only lost a few $100. I mean, it's very unlikely that you're going to lose all of that. But the point is, you're not going to stress out. Just get on with it. And then you can go back and probably private label the exact same product if it works. This is the beauty of our overall system. So once again, I want to emphasize that being great at research is no good if you are lousy at sourcing good quality products. Equally, it's no good sourcing great products if you've done terrible research and nobody cares about it. And it's no good doing both of them if you aren't any good at launching. Although the majority of people fall into the trap of hoping that a magical bit of marketing, you know, magic of some kind, magical magic, that wasn't very good, magical woo-woo, that I can wave my magic wand. People have been coming to me for 2.5 years now, or more like coming on 3, and saying, can you wave a magic wand with my terrible product choice? And I can always, the answer sadly is always no. So you do need to get the first 2 things right, the niche and the sourcing, and then the launch generally will go well if you've done well in those 2 things. But above all, I'd urge you not to think in terms of the mentality of a one shot, a moonshot, one go with all your money down, and you know, it either works or it doesn't, and if it doesn't, you're out. I just don't think that's professional entrepreneurship, in the sense that we are not there to sell a product. We're there to build a business, and to build a business you need to build yourself, your mindset, your skill set first. And this is not an abstract idea. This is based on experience. Everything I say is based on experience. Experience as an Amazon seller myself, and also experience latterly as a coach and you know, podcast runner, but I'm a mastermind runner, whatever the word is, you know, mastermind convener and a coach. So this stuff is 100% true from real life. So hope that helps. I think sometimes the biggest wins, well, normally actually the biggest wins are at the strategic, the higher level. But if that sounds too general to you, don't worry, we can get into some more blow by blow stuff on how to source in the next episode. Hope this is helpful to you. As I said, if you want to get more stuff, you can get some video training on this and our overall approach to business, which I think is critical, as I hope you've gathered, at amazingfba.com/class. CLASS, for videos there, for free videos, some substantial training, and it's easier to take stuff in from videos sometimes, I think. And then also, if you actually you know that already you want some structured training, and you know me and you like our approach here, then you can go to amazingfba.com/PLP. That stands for Private Label Process. And if you wanted to pick up a special deal this week before December the 1st, that's Saturday, December the 1st, midnight UK time, if you're listening to it before then or watching this video, then you can get that deal. Otherwise, I still think £395 or $500 is a very, very good deal for the value that we bring, because there's so much detailed content. But it's not just the amount of content, it's been organized into bite-sized absorbable chunks, so you can preview, do, review. So in other words, you can do a bit of learning and get into action, and that's where the real learning happens. So we're pretty proud of our course. It's going to help a lot of people. Already got beta testers and mentoring clients using it and finding it very, very helpful. We will be gathering more testimonials over time and get some social proof, but it's already coming in as we speak. So whichever way you go with this, guys, whether you use our free training or paid training or just go off into the ether on your own, I'm begging you, please think through the whole business building process. Try to resist the urge to go all in one go without knowing what you're doing. That's just not a path to success in my experience. Thanks very much for listening, and speak to you in the next show.